My directions say factor completely. Okay, so I go through the questions I always ask myself. Do I have a common monomial factor? 5 is prime and it doesn't go into 19. This doesn't have a variable term. I'm stuck. And that's unfortunate because I've got a coefficient greater than 1. So remember our little method of doing this. We're going to do our A, our leading coefficient, times C, our constant term. And we're going to do that off to the side. So 5 times 12 is 60. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to write my first and last term, and then I'm going to work on splitting this middle term into 2 terms. So my 5n squared and my 12. And I'm going to leave some room in here because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 19n I'm going to take 19n and break it into 2 terms so that I can factor by grouping. Okay, what 2 terms do I want here? Well, I look at my product. The product here is 60. So I start going through and I'm like, alright, the middle term, I want the sum to be the product here of 60. So I start looking at my factors. 60 is 1 times 60, 2 times 30, 3 times 20, 4 times 15, 5 times 12, 6 times 10, 7 does not work, 8 does not work, and 9 does not work, and now I'm to 10. Okay, now I want the sum to be 19. Now, because the product is positive, I know that I'm either going to have 2 positive terms or 2 negative terms. The sum is positive, so this is going to be 2 positive terms. Okay, so if they're the same sign, it means their sum should be my middle term, which is 19. And this is the one that add up to 19. These are the 2 that add up to 19. So 4 times 15 is 60, and 4 plus 15 is 19. Okay, so I'm going to break this up into 4n and 15n. And it is not going to matter, oops, I need a plus here for my 12. It's not going to matter which term I put first. If you did 15n first, it's fine. In the end, you should get the same answer. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm ready to factor by grouping. So my first 2 terms and my last 2 terms. And I'm going to say, what can I factor out of these 2 terms? 5 and 4, they don't have a common factor, but I have an n which I can take out of both. Okay, to get the first term here, 5n squared divided by n is 5n. 4n divided by n is 4. And I always kind of multiply it back out to double check. N times 5n is 5n squared. N times 4 is 4n. Okay, now I find a common factor here. 12 and 15 have a common factor of 3. And if I take out a positive 3, it's going to leave me with positive 5. So it's going to be a positive 3. That's what I want. Okay, this does not have a variable, so I can't do anything else. Okay, 15n divided by 3 is 5n. 12 divided by 3 is 4. And my 2 binomials are the same, which is what I want, because now in these 2 terms I have a common factor of the binomial. So I'm going to factor that out. 5n plus 4 times, okay, and when I divide this by that, I get n, and when I divide this by the binomial, I get 3. So it always leaves me with the 2 coefficients of the binomials, n plus 3. Okay, let's see. I can't go any further. Neither one of these are special cases. I think I'm finished. So now what I'd like to do is use my calculator to check it. I'm going to use x instead of n because there's a button here that's easier to use. I can use this for x. Okay, so I want to store some nasty number in here for x. I'm going to use x instead of n. So oops, you got to put the number first. I like to use an irrational number. My favorite one is pi. So it doesn't matter what I get when I put this in. What matters is that I get the same when I put this in. Okay? And the reason why I use the irrational number, pi, is so that I don't have a coincidence. Okay? If these two are the same, then I know that they are equivalent. Okay, so my original expression was 5x squared, I switched these to x's, plus 19x plus 12. Okay, I see what I get, and then I'm going to go and do the same with my answer. Yeah, okay, making sure I use the original one. By the way, don't use this. Always go back to the very beginning, okay? Because if you use this, well, if you had a mistake from here to here, you're not going to catch it. So always go back to the initial problem. That's why I was pausing. I thought I used the wrong one. Okay, here we go. Parentheses, 5x plus 4 times x plus 3. Okay, they're equivalent. I cannot see how I can go any further, so I feel confident that my answer is correct.